Let's talk about book number 5. This is exceedingly not a business book, but it has real ramifications for every aspect of our lives as attorneys. I've noticed, thankfully I don't think we do it as much as we used to, but it's still a problem. Not sleeping is like a badge of honor among some attorneys. Like, I spent all night working on this. I'm like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. That's terrible. You shouldn't have lost sleep over a case. Like, anyway, you know, getting ready for trial, whatever it is. It's like a badge of honor among some attorneys. Or I billed 2,200 hours last year. Well, that's lame. That's not something that you should be proud about, right? Anyway, so this is Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. And Matthew Walker is probably the preeminent sleep researcher in the world. He goes through and he talks about sleep, its functions, why it's necessary, what it does for the body, what it does for the brain, what it does for pretty much every aspect of human life, and how important it is. And it is one of the 2 or 3 best books I've read in the last 5 years. And that's a lot of books. So it is amazing. And I'm just going to go through kind of some of, I'd written a paragraph about it that I put on Facebook when I read the book initially. So I'm just going to read through that. So adequate sleep, 8 to 9 hours per day for adults, more for kids and for teens. Little kids should be sleeping like 13 hours a day. Like, if you have a kid, just let your kid sleep as long as humanly possible. Seriously, like their IQ will actually be higher if you do that. So 8 to 9 hours per day for adults. Okay. Fights physical disease and mental illness, increases cardiovascular health, is a major cause of brain growth and development in infants and children, makes possible the formation of short-term and long-term memories, aids in creativity. Like literally, if you don't sleep, stuff doesn't go from your short-term to long-term memory. Aids in creativity, facilitates new language learning. If you've ever learned a new language, you know, you dream in that language, and that's a lot of how your brain processes it and learns it. Regulates negative emotions and behaviors, increases fertility in men and women. Kid you not, regulates testicle size in men. You have 29% smaller testicles if you don't get enough sleep and you're a man. It regulates sperm morphology, decreases first trimester miscarriages, increases libido in men and women, regulates gut biome and nutritional uptake from food. So if you don't sleep well enough, you actually don't get the nutrition from food that you could. Decreases sugar cravings and overall calorie intake. So when you don't sleep enough, you tend to get obese pretty quickly. Maximizes physical exertion during exercise, facilitates muscle growth, keeps blood sugar constant, ensures body temperature stays within normal limits, decreases suicidal ideations, increases employee job satisfaction, leads to less lying and loafing at work, leads to better scholastic attainment, decreases mortality rates, overall mortality rates, decreases obesity, and very likely increases IQ in children. And that's just part of it. Like, sleep is absolutely amazing. If you care about your health, if you care about your emotions, emotional regulation, spirituality, any of that sort of stuff, it all starts with sleep. So get as much of it as you possibly can. If you're losing out on sleep because you're doing work at your law firm, rearrange the law firm. Like, you cannot go with an inadequate amount of sleep. You are, in the end, you're going to die. If you don't get adequate sleep for an extended period of time, you're going to die on average 8 to 10 years premature, and you're going to be sick during the whole thing. So that's Matthew Walker. Okay, and then that is the end of that. Anybody have questions? Yeah, John?
I just want to add a comment, because I've been making an effort lately to get enough sleep, at least 7 or 8 hours a night. And it makes, the most important thing for me that really changes everything is getting regular, consistent sleep changes my attitude about everything else. Whereas if I don't get enough sleep because I'm staying up worrying about a legal case or whatever, then the tired guy the next day is always thinking, this legal stuff is so hard, I hate this. Maybe I should quit it. And whereas if I just get 8 hours of sleep for a couple days in a row, I start thinking, I want to be the best lawyer I can be. This is fun. I like this.
if you, oh, sorry, go on.
It's just directly related to how much sleep we get. And I always read stuff or see stuff in the news about how lack of sleep leads to cognitive impairment. And that's the least of my worries, because I'm not that smart anyhow. But really, if I improve my attitude, then the rest of my life is so enjoyable.
Yeah.
And it makes a huge difference. So instead of staying up after hours worrying about something, I tell myself, this problem will be there in the morning. I'm going to go to bed early. Maybe I'll get up an hour earlier because I got a lot of sleep and I'll get to work. It makes all the difference in the world.
You're not going to perform that well in court. I mean, if you're a litigator and you don't get enough sleep, your performance in court is going to go down. And I'll talk about this too. So they did this insanely interesting study where they had people get a full night's rest of sleep and then get an inadequate night's rest, so 6 hours or 5 hours or something like that. And they took photos of them at the same time the next morning, and then they put those photos in front of people and had those people rate what they thought about the person. So we have adequate sleep, person A, same person A, adequate sleep, same person A, inadequate sleep. They found, one, they were less attractive to members of the opposite sex, but then everybody also found them to be less intelligent and more angry and all of these kind of bad emotions, just from seeing a picture of the person with inadequate sleep. So imagine like what you're actually like when you are actually a jerk because you didn't get enough sleep. It just goes down from there. Yeah.
Yeah, I've never read this book, but I have heard him talk on various interviews. And the thing that was interesting to me is he's done a lot of studies that show that as people get less sleep or don't have adequate sleep, they're making all kinds of errors, but they can't feel it. They can't tell.
Yeah.
And I was in a trial where I did the whole all-night thing. And as I get older, it's worse. But the next day I did the trial, and I realized when I came home that I completely like skipped a thing that happened at cross-examination, and I just skipped it. It just didn't happen in my mind. And when I got adequate sleep and reviewed it, they're like, where'd that go? And I did not feel it at the time, so.
Exactly.
You know, so it happened.
Yeah.
Just a recommendation for the group. I don't know if any of you listen to the Nike Train podcast. It's primarily about like physical fitness, but I'm virtually certain that he's been a guest on it, and a lot of times,
I'm sure he has.
A lot of times about things that are like general health, and a lot of it is like mental stuff, dealing with like resiliency and injury and setbacks. And so, just given this crowd, it seems like something others might be interested in. I think it's excellent.
Yeah. There's also there's another study. It didn't come from Matthew Walker. It came from a guy named Lane Norton. It talked about sleep, and so he's a bodybuilder and a PhD. They do studies on physical exertion and what creates the most physical exertion, or the biggest increase in physical performance. And other than anabolic steroids, it is sleep. And it's not even that far off from those two. So, okay, thanks everyone. I really appreciate it.